Okay, so we'll get things started here. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for everyone for joining us this evening for our second set of player webinar. Tonight, we have two guests. Our first guest is Laura Marrelli, who currently plays with the University of Guelph, a women's soccer team, and is also a member of our Women's League One team. And then our second guest is Megan Short, who currently plays for Laurentian University's women's soccer team, and also is a member of our League One women's team as well. So thanks for the both of you guys for joining us this evening.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
Okay, so the first question will go to you, Laura.
Okay.
When did you start playing soccer?
I first started playing house league soccer when I was 5, I think, in Aurora. And I actually had the same coach that year that I had until I was like 15 years old in Aurora, which was cool. And I started playing house league then, and then rep when I was 8 since then.
And yourself, Megan?
I started house league when I was 4, and I started in Richmond Hill actually. And then when I was like 13, I moved to Aurora, and then I started playing rep also in Richmond Hill when I was 8, and then just kind of went from there.
What made you make the move to Aurora?
I think it was a combination of it was getting kind of repetitive. Like I just kind of needed a switch, and obviously, at that time, Aurora was one of like the really skilled teams of my age division, and I kind of wanted to like go to the next level. So I decided it would be best for me to make the move.
Good stuff. It ended up working out for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, Laura, what has been your most memorable moment during your playing career? And it can be whether it was your youth career or anything in the present time. Anything that sticks out to you?
The first thing that I guess comes to mind is when I first was given captaincy of my youth team, which was when I was 12. That was just like the first moment that I was like super proud of myself and I felt recognized. But also it was kind of like the moment that it clicked for me that soccer could be more, like teach me more than just like soccer skills itself. Like could teach me how to be a better person and how to work with other people. That was when I was younger. I guess more recently, I'd say after my first year at the University of Guelph, I was given my team's Rookie of the Year award, which was really cool, but not just for the award. It was more that I was injured for the second half of my rookie season at Guelph, but it was cool to still be like notice that I could still make an impact even if it was not from the field, which is kind of the same effect I felt when I was given the captaincy. So I guess that.
Okay, and Megan?
For me, it was when I was playing, actually when me and Laura were on the same team, and we won the OSL Eastern Division, and we did it 2 years in a row. And that was just kind of like a big moment because I was playing a year up. So it was like, I'm on like this really great team, like with all these great girls, and we're doing, so like we're achieving so much. And that was kind of just like a moment when I was like, maybe like I can take soccer like somewhere else. So that was a really big moment for me.
And how old were you when you?
I think it was U16, U17. So I was a year younger. So I was 15 and 16.
15,
those 2.
So around 15, 16 is when you kind of thought about, maybe playing a little bit more at a higher level or continue to play. Is that around?
Yeah, I'd say that's around the age when I was like, this definitely isn't something I want to stop doing. So I want to like keep going and see where it can take me. And because I was playing a year up, it felt like my coaches kind of like saw like potential in me. So it definitely like boosted my confidence and allowed me to pursue further things.
Stuff. Okay, Megan, we'll ask you this question. What position do you play?
So this year at school, I played right back my whole season. But then last year and even in previous years, like when I've played for Aurora, I've played pretty much almost everywhere. I've done both sides, fullback, center back, mid, and I've even played winger a little bit. So a little bit of everything.
Now, some players may change in playing different positions like yourself. Some others might just be playing the same position.
Yeah.
how did you react to your coach's decisions on moving you in different positions and so forth?
Yeah, so I'm pretty open to any position as long as I'm on the field kind of thing. So I feel like they see the whole field. So if they think you're better in somewhere, I think it's obviously a good call. So I just kind of go where they feel like I would be the best.
Good stuff. And Laura?
I'm one of the other types of players, I guess. I play center back in Aurora and at school.
So you pretty much played there.
Yeah.
Pretty much your whole career, except probably when you were younger.
Yeah, when I was younger, I guess I moved around a little bit, but even then I played like fullback. I've always been a defender.
Yeah. Okay. So during this time of social distancing, what have you been up to, Laura? Are you still doing some classwork? Are you on the field, or not on the field, but in your backyard, doing some workouts?
I just finished my exams last week, so now I have a little bit more time on my hands and I'm done school. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do things that I didn't get the time to do at school. So cooking a little bit more, working out, doing my best to stay fit at home. And I think next week I'm taking some summer courses, and those are starting up soon too. So staying busy with that.
Have you checked out Carlo Malad's ARC workouts?
Workouts? Yeah, the live workouts.
Yeah,
I've been on a few of those. Pretty tough.
Pretty tough, intense.
Yeah.
Only when Malad does. When Carlo does it, it's a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those are a breeze.
And yourself, Megan?
So yeah, same as Laura. I had exams pretty late into April, so I was doing a lot of assignments and schoolwork and keeping busy with that. And then also, trying my best to do some like at-home workouts and stuff just to try to keep fit. And then I've also just been kind of filling my time with like baking and cooking and just like helping out where I can. And then I also have a course starting in the spring semester, so that'll keep me busy too.
Good stuff. Okay. So you guys kind of touched a little bit about it before, but if you can maybe give us a little bit more insight as to, at the age of 15 to 17, whether it be on the male side or the female side, players, some players tend to lose interest or drop out of the sport. What made you want to continue playing soccer? Laura?
Yeah, sure. I guess that age is kind of when you start feeling like maybe there's other things you can do with your time, or like soccer's a big commitment, a big sacrifice, and like everyone goes through that period, I guess. I know something that I always look back on was like, where were my best memories? And for me, it always went back to like the big wins I had with my teammates, or even like the camaraderie with a tough loss, or like the bus rides. And I'd always think like that team environment was definitely not something I wanted to give up. And for me, I found that team environment in soccer, and I knew like that kind of environment was what I always wanted to be surrounded with. So I kept pursuing it so I could follow it even into school.
Good. And Megan?
So it was kind of the same for me. Like I made some really great friends, like some of my best friends. So I enjoyed going to practice. I enjoyed playing because it was like time that I got to spend with them doing something that I loved. And then it was also something that made me keep going was, again, like my coaches encouraging me and like telling me that like they see potential and things like that. So I felt like they were giving me the confidence that like it wasn't just going to be a hobby, like it could actually be something more.
And I'm sure by doing so, it helped you, from an academic standpoint, getting into university.
Yeah, for sure.
Being an athlete, that helps, I'm sure, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for me personally, I also found that soccer was kind of like the one place where I could like focus on soccer. Like if I had a lot of school and stuff, being at practice, I could just kind of use it to clear my head and use it like to like, take a break, regain some focus. And then honestly, I find that it helps manage my time a little bit better, like having that set schedule. So I definitely think like being an athlete and in school is like a huge benefit just because of that.
Agreed. Laura, so as a student athlete, what can you tell, or how do you manage your time with the academics and in your training schedule?
Right. So first I'd say like there's definitely a change when you get to university for like the amount of work that you have to do. But honestly, like if you played a soccer or like any sport throughout your youth, you've already started developing the discipline and the work ethic that you need. Like you're already going to school for so many hours a day and then going to practice at night. So those are just skills you like need to focus on, but you already have the basis. So like for me, I found things that worked, like make a calendar, keep on top of it, and use the little times that you have. So like if you have an hour between practice, that might feel like not enough time to get like anything substantial done. But if you use all those little times, like they build up and they can really help you to finish things in time. So I just say like use all the small times that you have, because like those small times add up really quickly. And if you waste them, like it's a big amount of time that you throw away.
Good advice. And Megan?
I totally agree with Laura, and I just think it's really important to try not to procrastinate and like manage your time appropriately. So like do kind of all your work that you need to do, like when you have the time, don't like put it off. And then I also found that it was like really important if I had like an away weekend, if I had a lot of things, I would bring it with me, or I would work really hard to get it done before so I wouldn't have to worry about it while I'm kind of focusing on soccer during the weekend.
You guys feel that your schedule or your routine from high school with playing soccer, and both of you played at a pretty high level, playing OISL, do you feel that the transition into university, there wasn't too much of a change in terms of the balancing of the two?
I'd say like there's a little bit of a change just in the fact that you have more freedom. Like your classes aren't scheduled from 8:30 to 3 every day, but like the fact that like your morning is school and your evening is soccer practice, like that pretty much stays the same. So like while you have to adapt to the new things that you like didn't realize, like maybe it's doing your own laundry or cooking your own meals, like that kind of stuff changes. But the basic like skills that you had for how to manage your time, I think they translate pretty well.
Okay. Megan,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite soccer player, male or female?
I'd say my favorite is probably Jessie Fleming from the women's team. I just think she's really talented, and I just like watching her in the way that she plays.
You have a male player that you
To be honest, I don't watch men's soccer as much as I do women's soccer, so I don't really, I can't really name a favorite.
and yourself, Laura?
For me on the men's side, someone I've like always really liked is Chiellini, just because like, you know, he's not the maybe most graceful defender, but like I just really like how his attitude is like, do what it takes, get the ball out, win it, start the next play. Like I just think he's super reliable in the back, and like sometimes my playing style maybe a little too much, but it's kind of the same idea. On the women's side, I'll probably say Buchanan for obvious reasons. On the Canadian team, she's just super inspiring. She started playing professional at a really young age and did really well for herself there. So
Now, you mentioned two players that play the same position as you.
yeah.
Do you tend to take notes and watch videos of them playing and so on?
Yeah, like I find when I watch soccer, like kind of like Megan, like I don't follow like teams super well. So when I'm watching, I'm more like watching to absorb and like kind of what you said, take notes. So like I always find myself trying to like find similar aspects in me and other players. So then that's what I'm drawn towards. Like obviously like there's midfielders that like are crazy good and like do crazy technical stuff, but like I would never do that on the field. So I don't really like get drawn to it that much. Like it's incredible, but it's not my thing.
That's a good answer. Most kids and most people tend to like the big name players like Ronaldo, Messi.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like that stuff's crazy, but like when I'm watching, I'm like, I know I'm never gonna do like a triple step over in the middle of the field, but like when I see Chiellini like chase someone down and do a killer slide tackle, I'm like, that one I would try to do.
Okay. Now both of you played a lot of years in Aurora. How would you say Aurora was kind of a help or help basically get to where you are today?
Well, for me, I think it was a really great asset to have my League One experience when I started university. I've been playing League One like 2 or 3 years, like started as a call-up and then before I actually got signed to the team. And it honestly made me feel like there was a completely seamless transition between like the skill level I was playing to the OUA. So I think that was like really beneficial and made me a lot less nervous because I had already been playing about already been playing against like older women, so like it made that a lot easier for me.
Yeah, first of all, like I'd say the same thing. Definitely playing League One at a younger age makes like the change in speed and strength that come with the OUA or schools in the States, like it definitely makes an easier transition. But also I found that like Aurora provided a really professional environment at training and stuff like that. So it was kind of like the idea of practice like you play that you always hear, like we really enforce that. And I think that's super important, like to actually practice like you're playing. And we did that a lot at Aurora, and I found that was super helpful to make sure like I was always, every time I touched the ball, like I was giving it my 100%.
Good stuff. And you touched a little bit about OUA. Not most, some players tend to want to lean towards going the US route, NCAA. What can you tell our young players about the OUA, the level of competition, and also a little bit about the recruiting process as well, how you got recruited with your university?
Well, I guess first, like obviously I know that there's like a lot of players are drawn towards the NCAA. Like everybody has that at first. I went and looked at schools there too. I'm sure Megan did the same thing. My best advice for that is make sure you're looking at the academic program, because a lot of the schools in the States have like crazy flashy athletics facilities, and like the whole idea of it is just like really overwhelming and it's really exciting. But the academic program is what's the most important for your long run future. So I'd say like, well, there's amazing schools in the States for academics too. Just make sure you're prioritizing that. The level of play, I would say, is pretty comparable. A lot of schools in the OUA have actually gone to the States and played some teams there and produced good results. So I'd say if you're worried about level of play, I wouldn't think that there's too much of a drop between the two, especially because if you think about it, there's so many schools in the NCAA and very few in the OUA. Well, not very few, but a lower number. So the quality like has to compete with it, right?
And to be honest, I'd have to agree with you on that, especially in terms of the quality. Dave and I watched the game with Quinnipiac against, I forget what the other school was in other university. And there's so many schools in the US. So the teams that are ranked, high hundreds or even closer to 200 and above, the quality just drops. So, do your homework, especially from an academic standpoint, because once you're done your playing career, unfortunately, on the women's side, there's not a professional league stands right now. Hopefully that changes in Canada. But it's important that you obviously make the right choice when it comes to your education.
Mm-hmm.
And Megan?
I would say pretty much the same thing. I think it's really important to choose like a program and go to a school that you actually want to be at, and not just to kind of focus on soccer and be like, oh, I'm going here for soccer. I'm going here for soccer. Like you really have to think about what you're getting out of it at the end of it when soccer's done. And I also think it's really important to kind of like know yourself. Like I know for me, looking at schools in the States, after I did that for a while, it kind of like dawned on me that I don't think I could go that far away from home. Like I would rather just be somewhere closer to home. So that's kind of why I was leaning more towards a Canadian university. So yeah, I just think you should really like focus on what you want, and don't really let like the pressure of like going to like an NCAA school like kind of like cloud your judgment.
And in terms of the recruitment process, how did you get recruited from Laurentian? How did that all?
So first I kind of just sent out like a bunch of emails to different coaches to schools that I was interested in. And then like based on the replies I got back and like talking to coaches, a lot of the times they'll invite you out for like training sessions and stuff like that. So I met with the coach during one of their open houses, and then I got asked to come for a training session. And then it all just kind of like went from there. And also a really huge thing for me was like using my connections, because both Mark and Sue, who have coached in Aurora, went to Laurentian and played soccer there. So they kind of had connections with the coach and like were able to kind of like vouch for me and talk to the coach about me. So that was a huge asset and an advantage, I guess.
Okay. Knowing what you guys know now, would you change anything, or would you do anything differently when you look back at your youth career? So think of yourself between the ages of 8 to 14, 15. Knowing what you know now, would you change anything or do anything different?
I guess I'd say to try the stuff that you learn in practice in games, because that's kind of the age that it's okay if you make mistakes on the field. And if you do that stuff when you're younger, like the stuff you learn in practice is meant for games. So try and translate it, because that's when those skills will become natural to you, that you can utilize them more when you're older. And another thing I think is super important that I did not do enough of when I was younger is to work on things that like aren't maybe soccer specific skills. Like, for example, like your running form, like your jump height, because if you do that when you're younger, it becomes completely natural to you when you're older. And like in Aurora, we have Carlo and Malad who are like super helpful with that. And there's lots of people who can help with that. And if you do that when you're like 8, 9, 10, 11, it just becomes like second nature to you. And then when you're older, you can focus on game situations, and all of that stuff will just make you a more dangerous, more mobile, faster player. So
How about you, Megan?
I'd say kind of the same thing. I kind of wish when I was younger I started like strength and conditioning, like just because it didn't really get introduced to me until I was like an older teenager. So I feel like if I had started earlier, it would have like helped me a lot, and it would have just kind of like pushed me, and like I would have been that much better now, kind of thing.
Okay. So we'll ask one more question here, just looking at the time, and then we'll open up the floor for any questions from the audience. What advice can you tell our younger players out there who maybe are aspiring to play at a collegiate level, university level, like yourselves? What can you tell them? Any advice you can tell them? Anyone?
Do you want to go first? Well, I would say that it's really important to kind of like be confident in yourself, because like at the end of the day, like you're kind of trying to like show yourself to a certain coach. So you kind of have to be confident in your own abilities, and also having a good attitude is really important, because obviously if you're easy to work with, a coach will want to kind of like recruit you like even more. I also think it's really important to be patient, because these coaches are getting like who knows how many emails a day from so many different players, like so many different highlight reels that they have to watch, look at. So I think like if you're not getting an email back like the same day, like it's not the end of the world. Like it'll come, and you know, you just have to kind of be a little patient. And then like we were talking about before, I'd also say make sure that you're looking at academics and not just soccer.
Being patient is key. I think a lot of players, just talking to players in the past that are going through the process, they tend to get frustrated because, like you said, you know, they're sending emails, they're trying to reach out to schools, and they're not getting any replies. All I can say as well is be persistent, be patient, and try to be creative. You know, at the end of the day, you're selling yourself. So, you know, change your approach maybe a little bit of how you're reaching out, you're communicating to some of these coaches, because you know they're getting tons of emails, and that one email or that two emails, those two emails that stand out are the ones that they're gonna look and review. So, and Laura?
I think my best advice is just to say, like, keep working hard through the ups and the downs. Like, I think sometimes goals can feel out of reach. Like, if you're looking at going to a school to play soccer and maybe like you're not getting the emails back that you wanted, like just keep pushing through that, because like whether it's an injury or that like coach is not getting back to you, maybe you're not getting the playing time you think. I think when you push through those hard times, it just makes the good times in soccer that much easier, and it makes the hard work that you have to put in like feel like it's not hard work. So I'd say definitely that, like if you feel like you're in a rough patch right now, like it ends eventually, so keep pushing through it. And again, I'm just going to reiterate what Megan said about the patience and looking at your academic program. So pick your schools first, and then you reach out to those coaches. And like, that's your job. Coaches might see you at a game and email you, but that's like a name that they wrote down and then sent an email to. If you're emailing them, you're asking questions, you're being engaged in the process, they're more likely to come back and talk to you because they know you're interested. So I'd say like find the program that you're interested in, have a couple of questions that you want to ask, and you reach out to the coaches and do that yourself.
Good stuff. Good advice from both of you. Okay, so we'll open up the floor here for any questions. So let me just look. So first question, who has been the most influential person in your career to date? Coach, parent, or teacher, or friend, or whoever?
I'd say it's I don't know if I could just say like one coach. I feel like it's been like a combination of all my coaches. I feel like I've been really fortunate to have like really good coaches who have pushed me to like become the player I am today and like made me better at each and every practice. So like I just kind of like say overall like my coaches that I've had.
And Laura?
Um, I guess if I'm gonna go like a not coach route, I'd say probably my grandfather. I just think he's a very strong person, and he perseveres through a lot of stuff, and he's gone through a lot that he's gone like pushed through, and it's always kind of been a thing for me. Like he got through that, I can get through this.
Good stuff. Next question. Can you speak about your training schedule in season and off season? How many hours on field, off field, and strength training, etc.?
I guess I can go first for that one.
Yeah.
In season, at my school and with Megan's schedule too, probably, we play on Friday and on Sunday. So our weekend is pretty much games. Saturday is like a walkthrough practice. And then every other day of the week, we're practicing in the evening. And it's normally like a 2-hour practice in the evening. And then there's 1 or 2 strength and conditioning lifts throughout the week as well. But those are more like injury prevention than actual strength and conditioning. And then out of season, we have 3 strength and conditioning lifts a week, as well as 2 morning practices. And those are both 2 hours long.
So for me, when I was in season, we had like our weekend games. So we would practice 2 hours every day in the evening. And then our Mondays would be kind of like a recovery day. So we just do like stretching, things like that, just like injury prevention stuff. And then out of season, we would do 1 practice a week indoors. And then we would also just have 1 day of strength and conditioning. And then the rest was kind of like do it on your own. So it was a lot like of our own responsibility to keep up with stuff. And we obviously had access to the gym and whatever, whenever we needed.
Next question. Do you have any pregame rituals?
I have like one kind of weird one that I just like I didn't always do it, but when I got to Guelph, it's kind of weird. But there's one girl on my team who like always has a package of gummies before each game, and she like always gives me one, and that's kind of our like thing before we start the game. So I've started to eat 1 gummy before each game. I guess that's kind of ritual.
Megan, do you?
Honestly, I don't think I really have any pre-game rituals that come to mind. I guess I like tie my shoelaces really tight right before the game starts. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Next question. Where do you think you would be if you didn't do soccer?
I have no idea. I feel like I'd probably be playing a different sport. I grew up only playing soccer though, but if I didn't, I would assume that I'd be in some other sport. I don't know what though.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I never played like multiple sports as a kid. I always played soccer, but like when I look back on it, like my entire life plan has started from soccer. Like even when I decided what I wanted to do with school, like I'm in human kinetics and I want to work with athletes and like do some type of sports medicine. And that all started because of like being surrounded by soccer too. So I don't know. I don't know where I'd be without it.
Okay, next question. What are some things that you like to eat before or after a game?
So at school, because we have games kind of in the middle of the day, it's more of like a breakfast thing. So like I like to eat oatmeal and like maybe like some fruit before those games. And then if we had like an evening game or something like I'd say like pasta or like chicken, something like that.
Yeah, me too. I always like find myself eating like kind of like super plain foods before I play. Like, so if it's in the morning, like I'll have like toast or oatmeal, like something kind of bland. And same thing as Megan, like when it's at night, like I'll have pasta or like chicken, but like I always just like find myself eating super plain food. I don't like to experiment with too many flavors before I play.
Megan, no Dairy Queen for you?
No, that was just the one-time thing.
One-time thing?
An inside joke.
Do you ever get a anxiety or nerves before a game, and how do you deal with it?
I know that I definitely do get really nervous before games and even like in the beginning, like it takes me kind of like a second to just calm down. And I find like it really helps to just kind of like breathe and like know that the coach put me on the field for a reason. So I just kind of have to like play my best and like just like focus and like forget about everything else.
Yeah, me too. I get like pretty nervous, I guess, like right before a game, especially if it's like a bigger game or a tougher opponent. But I find like I kind of just like to take like at least a minute to myself before, like whether it's right before I step on the field, like take a second, breathe, and then try and just like erase everything else. Like I'm stepping on the field now. I know what I'm doing. I've practiced this. I'm good. And then like take a second, give a high five to a teammate, and then like try and go more blank.
Okay. One more question. How important is off-season training, and do you do other types of conditioning like cycling or any other types of exercises?
During off-season training?
Yeah.
For me, I try and do like cycling or swimming as much as I can because I tend to get shin splints and stuff like that. So running, while it's beneficial, like sometimes hinders me. So yeah, definitely I'd say like biking intervals or swimming intervals, if you're able to do that, are helpful. But other than that, yeah, off season, running, tempo runs, and then your strength and conditioning, like as it fits you sort of thing.
Megan?
Yeah, I'd say it's really important to just be training in the off season just so that you're prepared for, your upcoming season. And obviously it's a little bit disappointing, like having our seasons this year being pushed back or just who really knows what's going on. And that was like a really good kind of like off season from school, like preparation. But it is really important to still try to be doing off-season stuff. And like Laura said, like towards the end of my season, I found like my legs were like really just sore and stuff from so much impact from running and stuff. So I do find cycling to be really helpful with that.
Okay. Well, thank you to the both of you guys once again. We appreciate you taking the time and doing this for our players. And hopefully our young players were able to take something out of this. So thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem.
And thanks to all our audience, people that tuned in tonight. We had about 55, 60 participants, which is a good number. So thanks again for everyone for joining, and we'll post up the video sometime soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care, girls. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.